YouTube is a place full of very interesting people. Some of this content ranges from God awful to probably some of the best videos I've ever watched. On the better side of the spectrum, people that are very passionate about what they do. They're very passionate about their opinions. They have a great personality. They have great production value. All the building blocks that would make a very good YouTube video. Many creators have this down to a T. They are very entertaining and therefore very successful. And where my interests lie most on YouTube is video game related content. So if you combine those two things together into one, you have great content. There are tons of entertaining people on YouTube that talk about video games, and I feel like none of them really get talked about a lot. So because of this, I'm going to just gloat about some of my favorite YouTubers that talk about video games. Starting off with number 1, RGT85. RGT is a gaming YouTuber that mainly covers news in gaming. He covers mostly a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff. He talks about Nintendo Switch news, Switch games, and Nintendo Directs. That's a main summary of what he covers. Now, what I like about RGT85 is that he just is super laid back when he's talking about all this news. If you've ever watched a news show, everybody hosting the news show is usually super stone-faced and super boring. With RGT85, he kind of just livens it up a little bit, even when he's just naming off all these things that are happening. Say he's talking about a Nintendo Direct, he'll just go off on a tangent and he'll just ramble and ramble and ramble, and it'll just be super entertaining because he took a basic point and he just spun it into like this weird tangent, and it's usually hilarious. He's one of those YouTubers that isn't afraid to speak his mind. He isn't afraid to speak his mind even when gaming is probably the most toxic thing that you can get into on YouTube. He's not super filtered. He has a lot of opinions about a lot of things, and that's what keeps me coming back to him. And what keeps me endeared to him is very specific. His intros before videos are just kind of insightful into what he's like as a person. He'll start a video and then he'll just like be singing some random song, or he'll start a video talking about basketball or wrestling or something like that. It's those little moments that I love most about his content. The next YouTuber I want to mention is Spawnwave. Spawnwave is another one of those YouTubers that just covers gaming news mostly. He covers pretty much everything relating to gaming. He doesn't really single out one specific thing. He covers Xbox news, PlayStation news, Nintendo news. He covers it all. And with someone that just covers such a wide variety of different things related to gaming, it really gives me a broad perspective on what's going on in the world of gaming. And it's pretty great that he posts so early in the morning, because when I wake up, I can just watch his video and just get all caught up on what's happening. I literally eat breakfast while watching his videos. He does this series called Newswave, where he just breaks down whatever's happening that day in the world of gaming, and it's just fantastic. I like the style of Newswave because it feels most accurate to what news is actually like and what it's presented as, and to have something so closely resemble the morning news on YouTube is pretty awesome. Also on his channel, he goes inside some of the most popular gaming hardware and breaks them down and tries to see what's in them and how they function. This kind of stuff is super cool to me because I've always wanted to see what the inside of these consoles look like, but I don't want to tear them down myself. So to have someone that does it for a living is pretty awesome. And before Spawnwave had a YouTube channel, he worked as a repairman for video game related stuff. His whole job for YouTube was just tearing down systems and trying to fix them. So to have someone that's super knowledgeable about all these game systems and how they work is super cool. I think what makes his content so engaging is the fact that he gets straight to the point and he's very precise in how he does things. He's very methodical, and I really like that. Next up, we have Stop Skeletons from Fighting. Very strange name for a YouTube channel, but whatever, it works. Stop Skeletons from Fighting is ran by a dude named Derek, so from now on I'm just going to call him Derek because his channel name is really long. So Derek makes videos relating to the weird and kind of quirky side of gaming. He covers weird games, weird game ports, weird game systems, and weird game accessories. And most of the stuff before watching his channel I had no idea about, so he's great for finding out about these weird and wacky things that I would have no idea about unless I click on his video. Like, for example, that's how I found out about the end gauge. And also, he's just another YouTuber that tackles things that nobody else is talking about. He found his own little niche inside of the gaming world and made it his own, like many of these other YouTubers. And he really filled up the desire for more game-related content because his content is completely different from anyone else's content that I've ever seen. And personality-wise, this guy is fantastic. Derek is just kind of a bundle of positivity. He doesn't really talk bad about any of the things that he decides to talk about in his videos. Sure, he points out flaws in things, of course, but he puts his own little positive spin on it. When Derek is talking about any of these weird things, he always talks about them in a positive light because it seems like he genuinely likes all this stuff. But in a world where everyone complains about everything gaming related, it's nice to have Derek just doing his own thing. Next up on my list, we have Ant Dude. Ant Dude is fantastic for very long and very thought out video essays. It'll be on games that are super obscure and stuff that doesn't really get talked about at all. Like, most of the time, he'll make videos on stuff that people like and people say that they like, but no one ever talks about them. Like, for example, he made a video on all these SpongeBob games. Like, not just Battle for Bikini Bottom, every SpongeBob game. People like these games and they find them interesting, but apparently not interesting enough to warrant making a video on them. And Ant Dude's over here talking about SpongeBob GBA games. Something that no one would ever talk about on YouTube. I think what it is that I like him because he doesn't talk about current events. He doesn't talk about current games. He talks about anything. He talks about any game. It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest. It could be a game that came out 30 years ago. It doesn't matter. He'll make a video on it. And what I love about Ant Dude is that he'll always have something very interesting to say about any game that he talks about. It's very clear that he spends a lot of time articulating his feelings on a game. And for games that nobody talks about, this is great. And for some of these games, there's finally someone to voice an opinion on them. Next up, there's Arlo. Arlo is a YouTuber that talks about gaming news and reviews certain games, and he uses a puppet to act out his video. That is so awesome. That is so unique. He took a more oversaturated genre of people talking about gaming news and made it his own. And he did it through this puppet. Now, for Arlo, personality-wise, he has a lot of wit and he has a ton of charm. And I love the way Arlo makes his videos. He makes them in such a way that you know they're not scripted, and he's just that good at improv. He's that good at just sharing his thoughts in an interesting and entertaining way. I can't do that shit. Every 5 seconds I have to think about what I'm going to say next. Another great thing about Arlo is his openness with his audience. There's one video in particular where he tells you what is going on in his life and how he's feeling, and that is probably my favorite video on his channel because he talks about issues that a lot of people struggle with, and it's great to have someone that's able to voice these opinions and these feelings so openly. It's really relieving and comforting when creators unveil the curtain and kind of show you what's going on in their life, and they talk about common issues that tons of people experience. It makes them more relatable, and it makes them feel more human. And this man uses a puppet for his videos, and he's the most relatable person I've talked about so far. The last person I want to talk about is Scott the Woz. Scott the Woz, or Scott Wozniak, is probably the most normal person that I've seen on YouTube. He is the most normal person on YouTube that I've seen. And that's probably because of the tone of his videos. Scott makes his videos in such a way where they just feel like home-brewed videos. They feel like souped-up home videos like anybody could make. Because, for the most part, Scott the Woz literally films his videos in his home. So that's where the comparison comes in. And just giving us a setting that feels so familiar for so many people, just having him be in a bedroom or an office space, just makes it feel like he is just a normal guy. Sure, he may have video games up the ass, and he may have all these fancy little editing techniques, and he may have special effects and animation, but it all feels grounded. And that's because, for the most part, beside some of the special episodes where he gets help from other people, it's just him making these videos. Because Scott doesn't have editors. He doesn't have VFX artists. It's just him, for the most part. Him and his little Mac desktop. So in that regard, I like how simple his content feels. It feels like it is just one guy. One guy that is very committed to the content that he makes. He's always going to different locations. He's always doing very minuscule gags that take a ton of effort. And it's that kind of effort that is just so awesome to see. And what I also like about Scott is that he's been on YouTube for a long time. He has hundreds of videos spanning many channels that are now completely deleted and totally lost to time. And you can really tell that he's been on YouTube for so long. Scott's gotten better at making videos, but he's never lost that distinct style. And Scott's style is what I can most equate to what YouTube was like in 2010. Most content on YouTube was just a single guy making a video on something that not many people knew about, or it was a guy and a group of friends making a short little skit or something like that. And that's pretty much what Scott does. He makes a lot of videos with his friends, and it really makes me feel like I'm watching an old YouTube video. And honestly, Scott's friends are probably my favorite part of Scott the Woz, because Scott made all of his friends play weird, over-exaggerated versions of themselves and dress them up in weird costumes, and it's super distinct, and it's not really something you see every day. And with the Scott the Woz characters, you feel as though they were crafted so meticulously in such a way to fit this wacky tone. And in this case for Scott, it's just a single guy or a group of friends talking about video games, but in this weird home video type production. I could talk for hours about the little quirks that the Scott the Woz YouTube channel has, the little inside jokes like Madden 08 and Dick Vitale and stuff like that, but I'd be here all day, and honestly, I'd probably be beating a dead horse. I hope you enjoyed this little rundown of some of my favorite YouTubers, and some of my favorite YouTubers that talk about video games. I will try and remember to leave links to their channels in the description, but that's all I got for you today, and I will see you in the next one.